We're live. I love doing that, Veronica. I know you're always doing the technical stuff.
I wish we had some music. We're live!
I
Yay!
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, all right, here we go. It is top of the hour at 6 p.m. Eastern. Of course, it's 3 p.m. on the West Coast. My name is Veronica Valentino with Power Hour. I'm joined with my co-host, Miss Lisa Griggs and Miss Renee Rand. We're so excited and happy to have everybody here this afternoon. We have an amazing, awesome guest on with us this afternoon. And we are going to get started in a minute because we have a couple announcements. So we come to you, Power Hour. Make sure, ladies, our Facebook page is for our ladies only, although we do invite the men in on Monday afternoon for Menopause Monday. And if you can scan that QR code and join us. And I'm going to turn this over to Renee Rand, who is going to tell us a little exciting news. Go take it away, Renee.
I am so excited. We've hit our 600th person in our group. And as promised, we have a really sexy libido package that we're going to be giving
Ooh.
away today at the end of our call. So we have names on the wheel and we can't wait to give it away. And so if you are the winner today, make sure that you private message us and get us your address so I can put this amazing package in priority mail for you so you get it right away. And then we're going to have you do an opening the box party for us, okay? Lots of fun. And if you need help, you just call me and I'll walk you through all the fun things, okay? That's part of it too. So,
All those details, right, Renee?
all those goodies, absolutely.
Oh, thank you for that, Renee. We're so excited. I'm getting even more excited as we go along. But I'm going to turn this over now to my other co-host, Miss Lisa Griggs. And if you could just tell us about this wonderful, amazing person that we have today.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Thank you so much, Veronica. Renee, I'm really excited too about this awesome libido package that we're going to be giving away. It's been an amazing journey here at Power Hour, and just, how Renee and Veronica and I came together to advocate for women's menopause, because we realized that it's a very taboo subject. It's kind of brushed under the rug. There's not a lot of talk out there. Women are kind of suffering. There's over 1 billion women in the planet right now, the year of 2025, that are suffering over 80 symptoms with regard to menopause, and many that really there's not a lot of solutions for. So it's a real micro niche, because of the fact that so many don't talk about it, and we're not really seeing a lot of advocacy. And it's interesting because I met this gentleman about a month ago. His name is Robert Ferguson, and he's with us today. Robert, I'm so grateful that you're with us, and that you're taking time out of your schedule to be with us and just to be able to add so much value into the lives of women. And of course, as Veronica mentioned, men that we invite in on our Menopause Monday, because they are a very significant part of this journey that women are on, with regard to just these different stages of their life. And there's so many myths around menopause. A lot of women, Robert, think that when you go into menopause and you're perimenopausal and then you're menopausal and then you make it to the other side of menopause, oh, I'm done. I don't have to deal with health anymore. I don't have to worry about, anything around the subject of menopause. But that's not true. And so it's been kind of a quest of ours to let women know that when they get to the other side of menopause, that they need just as much help as when they're going into menopause. So that's, why we did this show. And I'm so glad that you took time out to be with us today. I want to say that Robert is such an amazing person, because when I met him over a month ago, I realized very quickly that his heart for people, is really stellar. He really wants to help everyone genuinely. And we connected through a mutual friend who has a weight loss clinic in Westlake that does a lot of things with detox and different things. But Robert, you were mentioning something that you were excited about because you have been around this industry of health and wellness for over 30 years. You're a nutritionist, you have a master's in psychology, you know, you've had very successful infomercial done. I believe it was over 100 million with that infomercial. You've also written 6 books. You're a best-selling author. You also, you know, you're a Marine. Thank you for serving, or you are a Marine. So thank you for serving our country. You've also been nominated as an NAACP nominee. And so, you know, and the list goes on and on. I mean, we could go on and on about your bio till Jesus returns. And maybe you could also just tell us a little bit about, you know, your background, and why you would even want to put yourself in nutrition. Were you like starved as a child, or did you overeat, or, you know, I'm just trying to figure out that piece. And then of course we always have this big question, like, what the heck can a man teach me as a woman, you know, about hormones and menopause? So, you know, I know you've got this whole thing that you do called Menopause Reboot. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So just super, super thankful to have you on today, Mr. Ferguson. You know, you have the floor. You have the floor.
Well, one, let me just say thank you for giving me the opportunity to be part of this amazing group. I'm looking forward to the conversation. I'm excited and delighted, as always, to talk about the things we're going to talk about. And let me just preface that I grew up as a mama's boy. And my mom is still alive. I love my mom, and she played a huge role in everything that I do. And I also got to watch her go through the whole menopausal experience and be one of those people, you know, in the late 70s, early 80s that got on estrogen. And even when they knew that the potential of breast cancer was heightened, she was one of those people that got breast cancer as a result. So I have a strong emotional tie-in to wanting to make a difference as a result of the love I have for my mom. And I'm a dad of 2 daughters. So, hey. Hey, and if you're in a position where you can help people, which for 30 years, you know, when it comes to weight loss and being in the space that I've been in, the majority of my clients have been women. And there's a whole story before that happened. So it's just part of who I am. I'm very happy to be in this space, and I'm excited to work with anyone who wants to be successful. So I'll stop there.
So awesome. You know, it reminds me when you said, you know, we want all the ladies around us to be happy, right? That's the increase of that estrogen in our own bodies and being happy, pushing that out. Obviously mood has a lot to do with it. You know, being a nutritionist, and we'll just kind of get right into it because normally we have a 30-minute show, but we're thinking we're going to be here for an hour today. So let's get a little settled in and cozied up. But also too, if you're listening in through Facebook, YouTube, any of our live channels, we have an 800 number, 877-776-3985. Call in, ask your questions to Robert, as well as you can put them in the chat. Jean's watching the chat on Facebook as well as here on the Zoom. So if you have questions, please, we want to hear from you because this is a conversation around this menopause reboot. So I have a question, Robert, because my girlfriends who have also hired you as their coach know that I like to do this intermittent fasting. And so like, they're like, can you please talk to Lisa, have her stop starving herself, you know? So I want to know what your thoughts are around intermittent fasting specifically, because you have this claim to fame, which is dietfreelife.com. Okay. So any of you listening in, you can go right to his website, dietfreelife.com. Okay. Now I'm a woman that's dieted all my life, up and down, up and down, up and down. These women have known I've been 200 pounds. I've been 120 pounds. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster, and I pretty much have tried all the fad diets. And now I'm on to the intermittent fasting. So that's the new thing, right? The new trend is all about intermittent fasting. And I want to know, what are your thoughts about that? Because you talk about, well, you can eat everything. You can eat cake, you can eat this, you can eat that, and there's nothing off limits. So what say you on an intermittent fasting man that says you can eat it all and still lose weight?
Okay, great question. So let me preface by saying that everything that I've done is evidence-based and clinically proven. Everything that I recommend is substantiated. I've worked with the Aetnas of the world, the Michelle Obama Let's Move, the MAGAs groups, you name it. I've probably been invited to the party. And I was on this TV show called The Doctors, and they have this thing called a diet debate. And they brought me on, and they had offered me to come on many times, but it was for intermittent fasting, Lisa. So I go on the show, and they have me with this cardiologist, and we're saying no intermittent fasting, which I really didn't want to say that, and maybe I can shed light on that. And then they had me go up against someone who's usually the winner, a cardiologist with another nutritionist. And so their goal was to encourage people to do intermittent fasting. And all I did is I went to the audience when it was my opportunity to speak. And I said, if you could lose all the weight you want, avoiding food, but at the same time, you have the option to lose all the weight you want, eating food, I choose to eat. And the crowd just came to me and everybody went crazy and I won the debate. And here's the reality. That is the reality. Most people and my friends and colleagues who are in the space of nutrition and health and influencers, they promote intermittent fasting because they don't know how to eat. They don't understand the nutrition education component of how to teach people how to eat. So when you live in a society where no one really knows how to eat, then you're looking for structure. That's why people will go to a camp. That's why people will go to another diet. That's why people will go from this to that. They're looking for structure. Unfortunately, no one wants to think past the end of that event because that's why over 85% of everyone gains the weight back. Right. So what I've learned and have proven over the years is that you can eat the foods that you truly want to eat, but eat them in a way where you're able to not only drop the body fat, improve overall health, but because you never had to deprive yourself or feel restricted, psychologically, you have now moved into a lifestyle, Lisa. So if I could get you there to where you want to be and you're eating, that feels so much better than to be that person going, I'm fasting and fooling yourself that you're okay with it because you know that the day will come where that will come to an end.
Yeah.
Very true. It comes to the end all the time.
Yeah.
It was at the end yesterday, and it was, ice cream and Oreo things and whatever Lisa Edrick was putting in front of me. I was eating it. But then she's like, "I know you're going to go home and you're not going to eat for a week," and I'm like, "How did you know?" So. Anyway, so thank you for that because it's the whole depriving thing. I think in the lifestyle is interesting that you get up on that because we do want eating to be a lifestyle. We want to enjoy ourselves and have pleasure, I think, around food and not feel like limited. And I think also too, a lot of people maybe feel that, or I'll put it off on me, that I'm in control of what I eat or what I don't eat. It's kind of like, I guess that's my way of showing my body love or not, or I don't know. Anyway.
Well, you know what? I want to plant this seed and I would love to get you guys all of your thoughts on it is because one of my biggest challenges over the years has been the fact that what I'm sharing right now seems too good to be true, and it can't be that simple. I've had major Ivy Leaguers. I've been in the room with Aetna, Anthem, United, with all of these people. The Westlake Four Seasons, I was the first person they hired to consult them. And I come in and I explain it. And I'm at a place now at this age where I realize they don't know what they don't know. And because even though they're in a position of influence and they're a decision maker, they're just regurgitating everything that they believe. So you live in this world where almost everyone doesn't know what I'm sharing. So your two clients who are my clients, Lisa, watch what happens over the next 8 weeks. Because you're going to see them eating like nothing changed, but yet you're going to watch them get results that they won't even believe is possible, but they're living it. You know what I mean? So I look forward to seeing that happen. And the thing that the seed I wanted to plant was the challenge that I'm constantly up against. Like, how do I share this with people and without them getting to that place where they go, that sounds way too good to be true?
Right.
Because otherwise, Lisa, if you really believe me, and I know you believe me, and we have mutual respect for each other, but when you hear me explain it, you're still doing intermittent fasting when I'm available to actually show you what I'm going to show your friends.
This is true. No lie detected there. so
the console.
Okay, so putting me on the chopping block is my last question. Today, okay. So with regard to women that are in menopause, because this is always the big question, Veronica and Renee and I always get it all the time. Okay, all the time. The ladies will agree with me on here. How do we get rid of that midsection? Because every time, I can't even tell you, women are constantly telling me, I starve myself, I eat right, I try to do all these things, and I'm still not losing that midsection. Is some of that hormonal? I mean, does that play a part? Or is there certain foods that we can eat, you know, that will help us to maybe speed up our metabolism or help our hormones? With regard to menopause and that belly, you know, weight gain around our midsection.
So the short answer is yes, it's largely hormonal.
Yeah.
The second thing is I would say is cellular, right? So if you go back to when you were 16, even someone who was overweight at the age of 16, they were able to drop body fat faster than when they became 56. So that has a lot to do with cellular communication that's taking place and the fact that our cells are the most unhealthy today than ever in history. And we know that because you can look at cell membrane fluidity, right? So if my fist is a cell and we have trillions of them, the membrane wraps around that. Let's go back to ninth grade biology. And that membrane is made up of water, carbohydrates, protein, saturated fat, omega-6 fat, omega-3. Well, when you don't have enough omega-3 on that membrane, the nutrients and oxygen that needs to get inside of that cell, especially as we're maturing in life, gets more and more difficult because the membrane's rigid. And the built up waste that builds up inside of that cell has a hard time leaving because it's rigid. So you ask the question, what the hell has happened as it pertains to our cells being so rigid? And it has a lot to do with what we're eating and what we're not eating enough of. And last night I went on a rampage and I was just looking at all these different hormonal therapists, weight loss groups. And I was just listening to all of them talk, and they're kind of talking about it, but they're missing it. But if I talk to them, they'll go, oh, no, you're right. And then they'll get it. So it's that little piece that really will make all the difference. And that ties also, Lisa, into what we're talking about as far as menopause.
Yeah.
Like if you don't have like I did this presentation out of love and just wanted to share some information with people because I'm not the utmost expert on menopause. However, I called 3 of my OBGYN friends, 2 are Harvard grad, 1 from Stanford. And before I did the presentation, I said, hey, can you guys give me 30 minutes of your time? And I want to share something with you. And so I shared with them my presentation. And I wish I could have taken a photo of them on the Zoom because they were just like staring at me at the end. Because their protocol had just got disrupted because they were not looking at cell membrane fluidity. And so they're so quick to look at estrogen levels and then create a protocol to address that by maybe putting you on progesterone, et cetera. But they never looked at cell membrane fluidity because estrogen begins with cholesterol. And all of that is through signaling. And if the membrane is not healthy, then whether it's PCOS challenges, fertility challenges, perimenopause, all these symptoms, inflammation, you're not going to fix it. So you're constantly going to be putting a Band-Aid on all of your menopausal symptoms until you address the menopausal, the cell membrane fluidity, which is what, Renee is doing. And once you do that, once she gets her report back, it's going to be a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Maybe, Renee, Renee, I want to ask you a question just since Robert's been talking about that, because, we do hear this all the time about women frustrated. We see them in the groups, we see them in YouTube, we see them everywhere in the comments, all the search engines. You can type in menopause and you'll see women suffering and asking why they have this going on. I know, Renee, the reason why I put you in touch with Robert was because you had some situation around this, and you eat perfect. I see what you eat. You eat like a rabbit.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I go to your house, it's hummus and cucumbers and right? And right? So you finally, and then you got me eating like a rabbit. So what made you decide to kind of, engage with Robert to this degree of wanting to get, more around this with the cell membrane? Because I think there's something really here. Dr. Laura is actually on this call. I'm sure she would want to contribute to this conversation. Go ahead, Renee.
Well, when I was a teenager, I weighed 400 pounds in high school. So being a big girl was never a problem for me as far as how I felt about myself. I've always been very confident. None of that was affecting me. What was affecting me was the health issues. So I knew that if I didn't lose some weight, that the health issues would be a big, huge challenge. So my mom put me on diet pills when I was in high school. And over a period of a summer, I lost 200 pounds. And I was a swimmer. I was always a swimmer in high school. So, I mean, here's this 400-pound girl in this little tank outfit swimming the breaststroke in high school. And that summer that I lost all that weight and then came back to being relatively so much thinner, nobody recognized me. It was very strange. But what I learned in that process was the difference of the way that I thought about things. And like now, I mean, 20 years ago, I dramatically changed. I'm 70. 20 years ago, I dramatically decided to get rid of the 18 synthetic drugs and the 4 insulins and change everything. And even though last year I lost 42 pounds, I still have that midsection extra weight of that over 200 pounds that I just, can't get rid of. And so when I heard Robert's, you and I were sitting here and we were watching one of his Zooms, I thought that's really interesting when he was talking about the cellular membrane fluidity. And I thought, well, maybe that's the challenge, because my thought in menopause was not only the challenge of weight, retaining that weight, and maybe insulin resistance and the other things, that if I'm eating good choices and I'm not eating bread and I'm not eating potatoes and rice and pasta or sugar, then why isn't everything dropping off? So when Robert talked about that, it made sense to me. So I already got my balanced oil and I'm on day 4. So I'll let everybody know how it goes. Sending off my tests that came with it so that we can see what my cells are actually doing. So I'm excited about it, but just because it should not be that way.
Right.
So Robert, one of the questions I had for you is things that we know that we think are good for us to eat, so we eat them. We eat the things that we think are really good choices. Are there things out there that you can think of right off the bat, maybe something that people generally think is great for you and it's not at all?
We could do an entire hour on just that.
Yeah.
You remind me of, I was in Newport Beach and I was doing a seminar about my methodology. And I started talking about rice. And when I demonstrated how to make what I call a fat burning meal, I had white rice on the plate and I could feel the room shifting. And it was almost like, what, you're eating white rice? And I go, yeah. So I brought it up and I said, people who live the longest in the world, they eat white rice. They've never even seen brown rice. And I also said that if you're feeding your kids brown rice, it's 80% higher in arsenic compared to if it was white rice.
Wow.
And so then we just go down that rabbit hole, right? So then we look at bread. A lot of people think whole wheat bread would be ideal, but you can go back to 2002. I was out there preaching that sourdough is the way to go. The world has caught up. We know that because of the acidity, it digests a little bit faster and becomes sugar in the blood slower. As a result, it's also a prebiotic, and so it has resistant starch in it that's going to help bring that gut into like better balance, which the world now is becoming aware of the microbiome.
Mm,
The list goes on and on and on about our perception of what we think is healthy, but yet it may not be healthy. And
mm,
that's
Right.
why early on I say everything that I do is evidence-based and clinically proven. I don't mind having great conversations with anyone who believes what they believe, but I just remind them that I've worked with thousands of people and I have been extremely consistent across the board. And I have hundreds of people that I can bring on a call right now that used to weigh 259, now they're 125. They
wow.
used to weigh 449, now they're 170. And it's not like one or two of them. I got thousands, and it's just a matter of helping people believe in something that they have a hard time believing is even possible. Because everywhere you go, everyone is saying they have the answer.
Yeah.
And maybe they do. I don't know until I meet them. But what I do know is that I have thousands of people, and I've done two clinical trials. One was paid for by Aetna, where they put up over $3 million. I work with 4,000 people. We had 81% retention. You don't see numbers like that,
Right.
especially when you're working with underserved populations at that time. So there's a lot out there, and I like to cut through the clarity and keep it fun, right? So that's why I say, look, if you want to have a Philly cheesesteak, I'm going to show you how you can eat it and still get to where you want to be. So it goes against what everybody's talking.
Well, I'm excited, Robert. I think this is actually going to be a key, on going in the right direction after all this time. So I'm going to be one of your great results. I know I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, hey, you know what? My mom was like one of my best inspirations, and I tell you, this is a two-minute story. So my mom sees me on TV helping all these people lose weight, right? And I'm her baby. I'm her baby. So I couldn't get her to follow my plan when she was back in Indiana. So I flew her out, and she stayed with us for almost a month. And so the first 21 days, I said, "Okay, mom, you're going to eat everything that I eat. We're going to have a blast." So she's like, "Okay." So we did her numbers, got her on the scale. And remember, my mom is a lifetime dieter. I watched her lose 100 pounds and the whole family cheered. I watched her gain it back and saw her cry multiple times. I watched her go to camps. I watched her do a whole bunch of stuff, right? So my mom is eating the food with that look like of concern. This is a lot of food, son. And we actually got into an argument one night. We had pasta. She goes, "I can have pasta." And so I put the sauce on the pasta, and she goes, "That's too much sauce." I said, "No, it's about a half a cup." She goes, "No, it's not." So we get in an argument. So I leave the house, go to the grocery store, come back with three different measuring cups so that I could show her and prove to her that it was a half cup. This is, I'm sure you guys had those moments with your parents. So in the end, I proved that it was a half cup. She ate it all. She never talked about it again. And in the first, and this is not everybody, but in the first 21 days with my mom, because she didn't eat, she lost 11 pounds on the scale. The bulk of it was body fat, eating great. But here's where it shifted. She goes back to Indiana. A couple weeks goes by. She says, "I don't understand, son. The weight's not coming off." What my mom did is she thought in her diet mentality, if what I did with my son helped those 11 pounds come off in 21 days, I'll eat less.
Mm,
Gotcha.
And by eating less,
mm,
she created disruption and slowed her metabolism.
yeah.
And so the weight loss came to a halt. So I have clients where I'm like, "I need you to eat." Right? And when you eat, if you trust me and I'm holding your hand, let's look at the numbers at the end of the week. And the numbers are going to be there for us. So that's a big challenge psychologically, is getting people to eat when they have this strong belief that
Mhm,
not eating is where you get the best results.
mhm,
Right. I agree. I agree because, the things I choose to eat, I don't eat a lot of. So mentally, that doesn't resonate with what I've been trained my whole life.
yeah.
So, yeah, so there's got to be a mind shift there about that to make that happen. But
Yeah,
it is good
I
that
was
you
gonna
keep
say
in mind.
to that regard, Renee, definitely has to be a mind shift, because I was thinking as you were talking about the weight gain, weight loss, weight gain, weight loss, trying to get this last bit of pounds off.
Right.
And then Robert talking about the cell membrane, and you're saying, I really believe that this is the answer, which I want Robert to get up on more. But I think it's important that we also talk about that piece with inflammation, because that was one of the big pieces, is that the weight, what I noticed is when I was also 200 pounds, is that my body was so inflamed. I was in so much pain. And I really just only knew how to starve myself, so I thought, oh, intermittent fasting is the thing that works. And then thank God this angel, Robert Ferguson, comes across the path, right? And now we're helping so many people together. But Robert, maybe, and I know Gene's got his hand up, maybe there's a question that came in from the chat, but Robert, what piece does inflammation play in that with regard, is there certain foods that we eat even that take down that inflammation, or does that have more to do with the cell membrane piece?
Well, it all ties into the cell membrane. So let's talk about fatty acids just for a second, because all of this ties into hormonal health as well. You have two essential fatty acids. Essential meaning that you must eat it. Otherwise, if you didn't, you wouldn't get it. Your body won't produce it and you'll ultimately die or have a whole bunch of health challenges, right? It's like not getting enough vitamin C. Next thing you know, you got scurvy. So omega-6 is essential. It ties into what you hear about seed oils. Now, we need it. The problem of what's happened since the late 1800s, early 1900s is that we're getting too much of it. Okay. It's in everything. You go look at your mayonnaise and you'll see soybean oil. You eat some chips, you're going to see safflower oil. It's in everything. On average, in 1900, we would consume 1 to 2% of our calories would naturally come from omega-6. Today, we're upwards to like 30%. The number one consumed edible oil in America is soybean oil. And what's interesting about that is that when you talk to people, they say, well, I don't buy soybean oil. Yeah, but it's in everything. And if you don't think you're eating it, it's in the feed that the chickens are eating, and it's in the feed that the cows are eating. So you're getting it. So we get too much of that. And then we're not getting enough omega-3. People don't eat fish the way they used to. A lot of the fish is farmed. A typical egg in 1950 had a good amount of omega-3 in it. Today is like none. And that's across the board, right? We used to have all grass-fed cows. Now we have grain-fed cows. So the way the world has evolved has put us in a position where we have a major problem. So when Renee's test comes back, she's going to know what her omega-6 to omega-3 ratio is. And inside of that, it's going to also tell her what her cell membrane fluidity is. And if she's not getting enough omega-3, that membrane is going to be rigid. And then next to that, you're going to have a percentage called arachidonic acid. Arachidonic acid is inflammation. That's a better predictor of many health issues. Like number one, if your arachidonic acid percentage is off, that means you have increased risk of narrowing of the arteries. You have increased risk of blood clots, stroke, and heart attack. And it ties in directly with a lipoprotein test when they're just looking at inflammation. Okay. When you look at hormones, for instance, here's some symptoms. I have it in my I want to make sure I mention all of them, or the main ones. Hot flashes, night sweats, mood swings, depression, vaginal dryness, joint pain, stiffness, dry skin, thinning skin, fatigue, low energy, brain fog, memory decline, sleep disruption, weight gain, and insulin resistance. Well, that's associated and linked directly with low levels of estrogen, which people are looking at when it comes to menopause. Equally, it ties in and is linked to low levels of omega-3. You can't even make this up. And so when you go to your doctor, they're doing all of these screenings and they are not looking at your omega-3 levels. They're not. Go look at your last lab. You are not going to see it. And if you talk to Dr. Simopoulos, who's the #1 endocrinologist in the world, who's alive at 92 years old, she is the most respected. She is renowned. My goal this year is to meet her, sit down with her, interview her. She says that your balance of omega-6 and omega-3 impacts every cell in your body. And think about every doctor you've gone to, they have not even talked to you about it. Dr. Andrew Wild, who's renowned, right? They look up to him all over the world. I met him in 2002. We were doing a celebrity walk, and so they made me a celebrity that day. So I'm with Dr. Wild, and we bonded. That whole weekend, we were talking about what I'm sharing right now.
Wow.
If you call him right now, he'll say one of the biggest problems that we have is inflammation. And one of the biggest contributors to inflammation is the fact that you are not getting enough omega-3 and you're getting too much omega-6. And no doctor is talking about it. It's mind-blowing to me. It's like I have moments where I can't even sleep because this technology is available for all of us, and it's not just us, but it's kids. I mean, you know how you have people that talk about infertility and they're having a hard time getting pregnant, or they bring up PCOS, that's insulin resistance of the ovaries. Well, guess what? They're inflamed.
Yeah.
Insulin resistance is the primary driver for people walking around with high blood pressure. That's inflammation. So inflammation is the foundation. And when you go to the doctor and you'll hear people say, oh, eat more fish to lower your inflammation. Well, the fish is not the same today.
Right.
We are not eating the way we once ate, and it's getting worse. And there's a conspiracy part of me that believes that this was all part of the plan. And it keeps people sick, but not so sick that they can't work. And people are not able to optimize overall health because they're so out of balance. It's like I did a post yesterday where I talked about this client that came to me about a little over a year ago. She had seen me on TV years ago and had lost weight with one of my programs and decided to call me. She tracked me down. She was like, hey, Robert, I got 30 pounds I need to lose, and I know that you're on top of it, so I want to talk to you about that. But I also want to talk to you about something that I think you can give me guidance on. I go, okay, well, what's that? She goes, okay, I hope it's not too much information. And she said, well, one, I have really bad dry eye, and I want to know if you know anyone or you can help me out because I'm dealing with some vaginal dryness. And I was like, okay. Fast forward, we did her tests. She was completely in the red with her numbers. Inflammation was very clear. That woman right now lost 35 pounds.
Wow.
She no longer has dry eye, and she no longer has vaginal dryness. And when you look at her numbers based on her inflammation numbers, based on this test that Renee is getting, all her numbers are in the green now.
Nice.
Really amazing.
I mean, and that's what blows my mind when I talk to people. I go, if you're taking a multivitamin, if you're taking supplements, we don't know if it's getting to the cellular level. So any supplement that a person is taking, if it has any claim to improving cellular health, we need to know what the cell membrane fluidity is. Otherwise, you have been wasting a ton of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally makes
I
sense.
feel like the money thing is an issue with supplements because if we get put on, 6 or 10 different supplements to fix the things that we're talking about, we need help. Like you said, if our cells are not receiving it, then we're just spending the money for those products. It's flushing straight through our bodies and we're getting no results. So that makes no sense.
Amen. I'm with you. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, preaching at someone's choir.
I know Gene's had his hand up, but I have a question leading into supplements. So let's bring Gene on for his question real quick.
Well, I got a couple of things. Number one, you mentioned conspiracy, and I've always thought the conspiracy was more of how these companies can save money by making things cheaper for us in the sense of, well, we'll spend this $3 billion back in the 1990s so we can save 15 billion in the 2000s, and stuff like that to make them, and it's not as good for us in the long run. And you're right, it does make us sick. I always thought the conspiracy there was like that. Metabolism that you mentioned, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it just makes sense because bodybuilders and I work with pro wrestling, the pro wrestlers, the athletes, they're eating all the time because their metabolism is going so fast. And that's basically what you're talking about when you mention your mom eating less and you're telling her to eat more, is basically the same thing. You're trying to keep the metabolism up by eating right in the first place, correct?
Yes. And like if you ever want the truth about something, sometimes all you got to do is follow the money.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to Japan, they have these people, a profession called sumo wrestlers.
Yes.
Now, a sumo wrestler makes the most money when he can become as big as possible and still be athletic.
Mm-hmm.
When they test sumo wrestlers, they don't have visceral fat, the kind of fat that kills you.
Yeah.
Most of their fat is subcutaneous, even though they're 300-400 pounds. They also have very good levels of omega-3, very low levels of omega-6, because they eat fish all the time and they eat a lot of fermented food. So even though they are obese, the way we would consider obese, their guts are in really good shape, right? And they're very active, which also is like a shield to helping you not get sick. Now, they know how to gain weight and they're masters at it. So they don't eat 3 meals a day. They eat 1, maybe 2. They don't drink a lot of water. They know that by not drinking much water, it slows the metabolism because the blood works its way through slower. They also know that if I eat 1 or 2 meals a day, that's the best way for me to gain weight because I can slow my metabolism. So do the opposite of the sumo wrestler, except for the fact that you want to make sure your omega-3s are good, and then the weight will come off.
That's
Wow.
cool. And I also, 2 more things real quick. I remember, I think it was John Tesh years and years ago on the radio was doing a story about tilapia. And he was talking about don't eat the farm raised tilapia, eat the wild tilapia, because the farm raised tilapia stuck in that farm and then they get astronomical amounts of omega-6 built into them. And thus that's the fatty bad. And back then they probably didn't know about the balancing of the 2 omegas, but that's the fatty bad fat. And you want to eat the fresh tilapia that is the healthier omega.
Yeah, well,
and
if you find some wild tilapia, please let me know.
exactly. Now this was back 15 years ago or more. So, but anyway, again,
tilapia, woo. And I like the taste of tilapia, but they eat a lot of fecal matter.
Yeah.
So a lot of sewage companies use tilapia.
Yep.
Oh, really?
The last thing I want to mention, Lisa's given us the website, and I sent you a screenshot in a private message here in the chat with this. It doesn't seem like the website's actually working.
Make sure we have the right one. Robert, what's the website?
So it could because my guy is working on it at this very moment. It's but it's dietfreelife.com.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, it's not working just yet then. Okay, because it's saying that there's not a website tied to that URL. So
okay,
I just want to confirm
that's pretty scary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But you may want to send him that screenshot and say,
yeah,
hey,
well, I'll get on that as soon as we're done. But you can anybody can reach me through Lisa or through email. My email is robert@dietfreelife.com.
So John Burton has a question, and then I guess we'll go back over to you, Veronica, if you want to get your questions out about supplements. John Burton.
Hey, Lisa. Hey, everybody. Been a while since I've been on the Power Hour.
Another fellow Marine. Thank you for serving.
Oh, Robert Marine.
All right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. The Army thinks they have a really good 250th. Just wait till November 10th. Shoot. So I wanted to say, my opinion does not reflect the Power Hour, but Lisa knows, and I've done lots of years of research, but you can't make America great again if everybody's sick. So it is not a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy fact that they've been making us sick. It's, saving money is just something on the side. It's a very well thought out plan. But You know, Nikola Tesla said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in the numbers 3, 6, and 9. And that's exactly the reason why they named the essential fatty acids 3, 6, and 9. They are not just essential, like Robert was saying. I mean, they are like crucial that we have them. And I have salmon. The darker red salmon, the better the omega-3 is going to be. So since I do a lot of cooking with carnivore, I make sure that I get my omega-3s with salmon. I've got pictures galore. I just had salmon yesterday's it was last night, as a matter of fact. Baked up a lot. Had some Friday night. But then grass-fed steaks or hamburger meat is a super essential. I really love what Robert is saying through all of this, and I'm sorry that I hopped on a little bit late, but talking about the cellular membranes, elasticity in the cellular structure, the arterial. So I don't know if I have so much of a question because I'm distracted, but I just wanted to just reiterate that I think that what Robert's talking about, and I want to check out his site, and I can speak to you directly, Robert, but I'll check out your site. I really appreciate you bringing that star power to what we have going on here with, or what the ladies really have going on with the Power Hour. I think it's crucial. And then when you're dealing with these situations, it's not just all the stages of menopause. The men need to be not so prideful and admit about andropause, and we can address the same situations with the same kind of diets.
All right. Well, thank you, sir, and congrats. Semper Fi. And FYI, I put my website in there. It works.
Good.
Yeah, for some reason, if you typed it in without HTTPS or anything, it was not working. So thank you for that.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll look into that. Thank you. And you know what? I would also share with you guys that working with quite a few women over the years, I've also had the opportunity to work with a lot of their husbands. And sometimes what's happened when they're going through menopause is I'll get the husband on a call, and sometimes with them, and then I'll work it in a way where I get them one-on-one and help them realize that they need to work on some compassion and empathy for what their wife is going through as it pertains to perimenopause and postmenopause. And that needs to, and this is not a judgment, but I believe it would be great if the world woke up a little bit more and actually spoke to that, because I think I've saved some marriages over the years when the man wasn't communicating very well and just assumed that she didn't want to have intimate relations because she was no longer interested in him. But there's just so much going on when it comes to menopause.
It's
Well,
so
that's
true.
so true. Yeah, that's a fact, because over 40% of divorces are totally related to menopause.
Yeah.
So you're right alley with that for sure. So thank you for saying that, because I really believe that if partners had more compassion, you could work through just about everything with good communication, but you also need to have the understanding.
Amen.
Yeah, spoken by the real relationship expert there, Renee Rand. And I think actually it's an even higher statistic. It's actually women over the age of 40 initiate, I think, also 60% of the divorces. And a lot of that is attributed to hormones and menopause. And we hear it all the time, from the men that come in and out of this form here, that they're like, I don't even recognize my wife. I don't know who the heck I married. She is like a monster. It's not even the same person I met, 20 years ago. So it's a very real thing. So thank you, Robert, and also Renee for mentioning that. Veronica, do you want to opine on the whole supplemental thing? Because I know you had some questions.
Yes, I do. So, we talk about you skimmed over supplements a little bit. Let me clear this out of here so I can see everybody. So supplements like calcium, magnesium, vitamin D, the necessary supplements, can women actually get those from our food that we consume?
Yeah.
I mean, I was always big on supplements, and hearing that if they're not not going through the membrane in the cell, and it's just like exiting your body. Can you touch a little bit on that?
Well, I'm with you. I am not a Mr. Supplement guy. Not at all. And the Balance Well that I do endorse and recommend, I recommend it because it fills a nutrition gap that, unless you're going to eat fish every day, all day, you're not going to fill that gap. and you won't get an adequate amount of omega-3. And so it's a food-based supplement that is a combination of polyphenols,
Mm.
which are very important, and omega-3s. Outside of that, I think most people are wasting their money, and I've seen it up close when it comes to probiotics that people buy. I did work with Dr. Sabine Hassan, who is one of my mentors. She's one of the amazing gastroenterologists, huge expert in the world of the gut microbiome. And for over 15 years, she's mentored me, and I've learned a lot. And one of the things that she did is she took three groups of healthy people, and she had one group go with a regulated probiotic. She had another group go with over-the-counter probiotic. Get whatever probiotic you want, Walmart, Amazon, network marketing. Get whatever you want. And then she had a group that had a placebo.
Right.
And she looked at bifidobacteria, which is a big part of our immune system, right? So the immune system it makes up 70%. Our gut microbiome makes up 70% of our immune system. And a big part of that bacteria family that you want to keep an eye on is bifidobacteria. And so that should be ranging around, let's say 18. If you look at numbers, that's like ideal. Let's say 20. If a person was going through chemo, it'll go down to like 1. If you're dead, it's 0. If you're in a nursing home, it's like 1.5. So low is not good, right? If you got COVID and it was like 1.5, you're probably not going to make it. Well, all of these people were like 16, 17, 18. At the
Wow.
end of 12 weeks, the regulated group on the probiotic, they were the same. The group that was doing the placebo, they were still the same. Every person who took a probiotic wiped out their bifida.
Wow.
Wiped it out. Completely flatline. If anything had happened to those people during that time, they wouldn't have made it. So they still looked healthy. They still were healthy, but their gut was gone. And in the words of Hippocrates, all disease begins in the gut.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people taking stuff that is creating more problems.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us are taking things from people that are so-called experts, and we're trusting. And that's why, if you go back to the very beginning, everything I do, right? So we have, my new amazing client, Carmela, is on here, who I love her name. Carmela, if she says, Robert, you're saying to drink more water, can you substantiate that? I would say, yes. Let me give you some studies to support why I'm recommending you drink more water. I want to substantiate everything that I recommend because I don't trust people when it comes to food. And if you're going to take a food as medicine approach, don't just trust these people, especially the ones who are pushing all these supplements.
Mm.
That's where I live in the supplement world. So I am 100%, with you, Veronica, when it comes to I would rather not take the supplement and see how I can get it through food.
Right. Absolutely agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great information there. Jean, did you have a question? I know we have some in the chat too. Kim asked a question, but why don't you go, Jean, and then we'll get the other questions answered.
Thank you. You mentioned the gut and mentioned immune system. Have you had anybody out of your thousands who have had psoriasis that have seen improvements by balancing their omega-6 and omega-3s?
1,000%.
Mm.
I have two clients who have had eczema for over 30 years. It's gone. Think about that. One's a nurse, 35 years eczema, gone. And when she went to her doctor, and the doctor saw that it was gone, I said, "What did she say?" She goes, "Well, your skin looks great." She goes, "Yeah, I've been taking this balance oil." And she goes, and I said, "What did your doctor say?" She goes, "Yeah, I've heard that's good." I go, "What? And you've been going to her for 20 years? Are you kidding me?" So there's a lot of ego at play. Sometimes people don't want to acknowledge it because they did go many years without being aware of this and never being able to provide a solution to their client. I felt the same way. When I learned about this balance oil and this test, I was a little embarrassed because the technology had been around for 14 years. I'm like, with all that I do and I'm just now learning about this.
Mhm.
That was a humbling moment, but it was also an exciting moment because there's something available that makes sense and I can now get behind it.
And you mentioned the two with eczema and psoriasis is a little bit different because it's more of an autoimmune issue.
Yes. Well,
Have you-
anything that's autoimmune, you're still talking inflammation.
Yeah.
Same as gout, lupus, Hashimoto's, Graves' disease, right? So the list goes on.
RA,
So,
Huh?
RA.
yeah, rheumatoid
Yes.
arthritis. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Oh,
that's my mom. So
oh,
my mom, someone asked the question, what is the balance of what's the ideal balance? Most people that I've tested are going to be 40 plus to 1.
mm,
I've had kids are always really high. Like
Yeah.
we had a kid that was 43 to 1 that was autistic, nonverbal, 9 years old, can't draw inside the lines.
mm,
That kid is now 2.3 to 1, is now speaking and can draw inside the lines.
Hmm.
And I have hundreds of stories like that. We have my mom, when she got with it, she was taking a product called Omega XL. And for 4 years, because she's had 3 stents placed in her arteries. So I said, hey, mom, I have this product. I want you to try it. She goes, I'm not changing. I go, mom, I really need you to take this test. I'm not paying for no, right? So we go through all of that. And I said, mom, you're paying how much for Omega XL? She says, $90 a month. I said, this is 43. She goes, okay, I'll do it because she wants to save money. So we sent her the test. Now keep in mind, she's consistent for 4 years taking Omega XL, a fish oil. We do her test. She's 32 to 1,
Wow.
which proves she wasted $4,500.
yeah.
Now my mom is 2.7 to 1. And when we first started it, her rheumatoid arthritis, the discomfort was like a 8.7. Now she's a 0.1. That's my mom. So you can't make it up. And her husband was 52 to 1, about to lose his license because of his eyes, the macular degeneration was just at a high level. He still has his license. He's down to dry eye.
Mm,
I mean, and like I'm talking to Dr. Joseph Hiblin. He's done more research for 35 years on behavior and the connection between behavior and nutrition. And he has proven, okay, multiple times. The government has this data. It's all in pub, it's all there. He has proven that if a person has an adequate amount of omega-3 called DHA in the brain, you reduce suicidal thoughts by 50%. They did studies in prisons and proved after 1 year when they would put placebos into the food because they can control the food, institutionalized nutrition. They reduced poor behavior by 37%. Why isn't every prison doing this? Because it pays to always have disruption and to keep people where they can't be 100% sick. I mean, 100% healthy.
Well, yeah.
Unbelievable. Now there's a change happening because I'm talking to a big company right now, and it looks like we're getting a deal. And they came to us because of the GLP-1 drugs. Well, when you're self-insured as a big company, that means you're paying out of pocket when people get sick. So if you have 200 people that are on a GLP-1 drug to lose weight, and you got like 200, which is not a lot, you're spending $3.5 million a year. Then those people got stomach issues, they got migraine issues, they got other conditions that come up. Now you're about 5 million for every 200 people. So they're coming to us to help get people off of the GLP-1 drugs and teach them how to eat. So there is a benefit to getting people healthier, or at least getting them off the drugs that's draining the companies because they have to pay for it.
So amazing. That was Kim that just dropped off, but Robert, she had to go to another meeting, but she was on the cover of Time magazine. She is loving this conversation around autism because I think I had mentioned, you know, who she is. She has a background in psychology, working with the school system, specifically with autistic children. So she wants to have a whole conversation with you about this because she was just somehow introduced to this whole conversation around omega-3 and 6 with regard to autism as well. So she had to go to another meeting, but she definitely wants to connect with you. So I wanted to let you
All right,
know.
well, she
that.
should have canceled that other meeting because we're having a serious conversation.
Find out. I'm gonna put you guys in a group chat.
Okay.
She also had a question around protein, and I guess we might as well get it out because there's a few questions in the chat. How much protein do we actually need? That was her question. So I want to make sure it gets on this Zoom recording.
Well, you know, the government, when they come out with their recommendations on protein, it's going to be way lower than what people would believe they need. However, they're always looking at what is the bare minimum to keep people from having some health problems. I would say, and this is not my opinion, I'm a big fan of a guy named Don Layman, who's he's still alive, he's in his 70s. He's a huge pusher and believer, and he's done hundreds of studies. I mean, his whole life is committed to this, that we want to be getting about 30 grams of protein per meal, okay, on a minimum. More obviously, the bigger a person is, the more active a person is, the more skeletal muscle they have. But 30 grams of protein for breakfast would be ideal for everybody because there's this thing called mTOR. It's like a switch that gets turned on and it puts you in a position where you can preserve your skeletal muscle. If you do intermittent fasting, for instance, and you go long periods of time without getting that 30 grams of muscle, a woman over the age of 35, in his words, would be you're doing yourself a huge disservice. You're setting yourself up to age faster. You're setting yourself up to not be as resilient if you were to get cancer, God forbid. You're setting yourself up for increased risk of heart attack because of the loss of skeletal muscle. You are setting yourself up for a whole bunch of problems that will start to show up after you've been doing that intermittent fasting for about 4, 5, 6 years. And it's all proven. It's not my opinion. I didn't wake up and go, I'm going to just say this. The data is all there, and I can give you all the references, all the citations that will support exactly what I'm saying.
Awesome. Okay.
Speaking of which, I just came off of shoulder surgery, so I just asked this to the physical therapist this morning. What's your take on whey protein? The question he said to me, he says, "Well, do you need it?" I mean, I have no muscle. They reattached the muscle in my bicep, but I have a muscle here, and I want to build that up again. So, I mean, would you tell people or would you say that people should eat, or add a whey protein to their diet?
I think whey proteins, I'm a supporter of whey protein.
Okay.
I think that's one of the best supplements that everybody can benefit from.
Mhm.
I would look at consumer reports, just for the ones that have been known to have lead or something crazy in it. But for you, if I was coaching you, I would have you do a collagen also.
Okay.
A hydrolyzed collagen peptide, one that actually makes sense because that would help with recovery and help with skin elasticity. Yep.
I'm definitely going to reach out and call. So I'll be back in touch with you.
You don't have to call me. Okay,
Don't get me started singing.
You don't even want to know. And actually, Veronica, you need to sing to him. I am requiring that.
Oh, that's right. So Veronica, you have a voice.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, I do.
Man, I am so jealous.
Waiting
I mean,
for our
I'll
power
send you
hour.
my video.
I'm serious. I was like, God, why didn't you give me that gift?
You know what? I wanted long legs, so he didn't give me long legs, so
Okay,
he gave me a
there
voice.
you go.
Lisa, I think we had a couple other questions.
Yeah, one other question. Linda Bigelow's on here, just coming out of IV. Is that what you're saying, Linda? Supplement thoughts on that?
So IV, what supplements are you taking through IV?
Can I get a Mexican pizza, please?
Can you mute,
Not the Mexican
No,
pizza.
just
No.
a fork, please.
can you mute her, please? Lisa Hedrick, mute.
No, thank you.
Veronica, can you mute her, please? Or Jean?
Yes.
I just got her.
That's
I
fun.
was going in for the vitamin C therapy. They ended up giving me the Myers cocktail.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
I don't know. Just curious about
And
that.
what is your goal? Like, what's the goal of getting that cocktail?
Trying to just build my immune system, inflammation, a little bit of everything.
Okay. So everything that we're talking about as far as like getting a test, getting on the balance oil, and implement some type of fermented food into your nutrition. That's how you're going to get your gut and your immune system like boom, like on top.
Right.
Like remember, 70%, I said earlier, 70% of our immune system is in our gut. So there is no IV that you're going to take that's going to help that. You got to
Right.
get some food in there and the right food to create diversity in the gut so that you have that strong immune system.
And I do that. I'm a big fan of kimchi and
Oh,
sauerkraut and all that stuff.
there you
Yeah.
go. And then just make sure
Yep.
you get some sunshine, right? And if, so you have vitamin D, and if you're not getting enough vitamin D through the sun, just supplement with it. And that's a pretty good supplement, vitamin D. I think across the board, vitamin D, vitamin C, those are probably, even if you go cheap, you're going to probably get a benefit from vitamin D and the vitamin C supplement.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
You're
good
welcome.
stuff. I think that was the only, Gloria had a question also in here about, you mentioned optimum levels of omega-6 and 3. Is that in that test?
Yes, in the test. So you ideally you want to be 3-to-1 or lower as an adult and 5-to-1 or lower as a kid. No matter when your numbers come in, don't panic because you're going to fix it. The life of a red blood cell is 120 days, so there's a turnover. And that's why you test 4 months later after you start. Then you'll get an updated number, and everybody's better, no matter who you are. Some are drastically better, some are a little bit better, but you're way better off, and you can see that in the blood work. Kids get better fast.
Well, they're brilliant.
You know what I mean? Which it's amazing. You could have a kid like that kid was 42, 43-to-1, and boom, 4 months, 2.3-to-1 in the zone. I had these two twins that were 70-to-1, 3-year-old twins, and they went right into balance also in 4 months. Sometimes adults, it takes a little bit of time.
Is it a blood test?
Yeah, you prick your finger, and it's called a dry blood spot test. And it goes to this very advanced lab in Norway. And in 10 to 20 business days later, you get your results.
Gotcha. Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, next question in the chat. I think this is our last one right now. I'm sure everybody that's been on here today is like, can we just have Robert be on here for 10 hours? Maybe 24. I'm sure everybody wants you back. We'll have a conversation around that. What about people with fish allergies? How do they get omega-3s?
We give them a algae-based one.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So remember, the fish eat the algae, then we eat the fish. But for people who are allergic to fish or have a fish allergy, then they just go straight to the algae-based one.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? I mean, this has been absolutely amazing. Oh gosh.
It is amazing. I'm going to get to that now.
Yes, we have a giveaway.
If Jean, you can bring up our wheel, and we're going to spin this wheel to see who today's winner is of our awesome, amazing, fabulous libido romance package.
Yes. And Robert, thank you so very much for being on.
Oh my gosh.
A big wheel. This looks amazing.
That's awesome.
Really appreciate you, Robert. Definitely want to have you back. Oh my gosh. You need to have a show every single day.
Oh gosh.
Can I just say that?
Definitely. Thank you, Robert. Now, what we did was we were trying to reach the 600 ladies in the Power Her Through Menopause Facebook group, which if you go back and scan that or look it up on Facebook, and the last 50 people to reach the 600 are on the wheel right now. Last 50 ladies. So let me go ahead and shuffle them up, and the winner is going to get that libido package. And we'll go ahead and spin.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, that is cool.
Very cool.
Michael.
That was awesome.
That's awesome. That's great. I love it. That's cool.
Oh
Very
my
cool.
gosh. All right.
Harrison Michael. So
Okay,
we'll
awesome.
post something on the group about that.
We will. And I want to thank Robert for being here with us today. I will be reaching out to you. That's a definite. I have RA, so We'll talk about it. Anyway, I want to thank my co-hosts, Miss Renee Rand and Lisa Griggs. I want to thank everybody for being here today. And just remember, we'll be back here next Monday for Menopause Monday on Power Hour 2.0 with our next guest, who will be Dr. Laura Capina. She's a PhD in Chinese medicine, acupuncturist. She's an herbalist. And she's the author of The Viking Diet. So I want to thank everybody again, Miss Renee, Miss Lisa, and once again, Robert, thank you so much for
Yes.
Robert.
and for your time. What an amazing show today.
Thank
I hope
you.
everyone
Thank
has a
you.
wonderful
Appreciate
day.
you all, you guys.
All right,
God bless you.
okay, thank you. All right.